Part 101. Xuan Huaifeng and Xiao Fian run an errand. Things are going on. After Xuan Huaifeng waited for Bai Xuelan to leave, he quickly changed his clothes and planned to go out. Today, he is going to do official business of the Drug Rehabilitation Center. He is habitually changing into the clothing of the adjutant of the customs office. Standing beside Bai Xuelan with his appearance like this, he certainly wouldn't be ashamed of him. He came back to his senses, and felt that his thoughts were very strange, and he couldn't tell anyone. Well, the clip is inserted on the waist. Added a little more masculinity. Song Ren was now his personal bodyguard. Knowing that he was going out today, he was ready early in the morning. When he saw him leave the room, he led a few selected guards to follow him. At the gate, just as he was about to get into the car, Adjutant's son chased out from the gate with a document in his hand, stood on the steps and called, "Adjutant Xuan, please wait." He walked back to the gate and asked, "What's the matter?" Adjutant's son said, "This document is being urged. The chief has already signed his name, but he has not stamped it. You don't have a small stamp of the chief, please cover it, I can hand it over." Xuan Huaifeng took it and read it. It was a document related to the new drug rehabilitation ordinance. Therefore, to report it, Bai Xuelan's signature of Long Fifengwu is below, but one chapter is missing. Now that the world is becoming more and more chaotic, there are sporadic battles in the provinces, but the government in the capital still does nothing wrong. Xuan Huaifeng said, "The chief's small seal is with me, but I didn't carry it with me. It's locked. I'll go in and get it and cover it for you." Adjutant's son raised his wrist unconsciously to look at his watch. Xuan Huaifeng asked, "Adjutant's son is in a hurry?" Adjutant's son said, "That's right. A very important matter, 7 or 8 trivial matters, are all crowded into today. This document is only a trivial matter, and I don't dare to be late for that big one. Forget it. I won't delay you now, wait for me at night. Please stamp it again." Xuan Huaifeng said, "I made an appointment today, but I still have some free time before the agreed time. Give me the documents, and I will help you handle it." Naturally, Adjutant's son was very happy to be able to save an errand. He handed Xuan Huaifeng the document and said gratefully, "Then, I'll trouble you. I've checked it again, and there shouldn't be any major mistakes. However, you are more careful than me. Check again, if there are no mistakes, stamp it, send it to the Prime Minister's office, and hand it over to Secretary He. When the salary is paid, I will treat you to a good restaurant." Xuan Huaifeng said, "It's a small matter, why bother? You're so polite." He took the documents and went back to the courtyard. On the way, he read the documents again to make sure there was nothing inappropriate. He took out the small seal that Bai Xuelan had locked up and handed him over, and affixed a stamp on the document, bright red seal. Only then did he come out of the gate with the sealed documents, got into the car, and said to Song Ren, "I have an official business, I have to go to the Prime Minister's office first, and it will be fine soon. Anyway, the direction is also the meeting place with Dr. Brown almost there." Song Ren said, "Yes." He knocked on the seat panel in front of him that was separated from the driver's seat, and said to the driver, "Go to the Prime Minister's office first." The car slowly drove out of the road. In the white mansion, Xiao Fian carried a rattan basket and went to the backyard. "When I got outside the courtyard, I saw that the black wooden door was hidden. I didn't dare to go in so rashly, I stopped by the door, and sneaked my head inside. Unexpectedly, the people in the yard were very alert. She only probed like this, and she heard a loud voice inside, as if someone had pulled the bolt, and shouted, 'Who the hell probes the brain? Come out!' Xiao Fian was frightened. A stagger, almost accidentally dropped the heavy rattan basket on the ground, busy holding the bottom of the basket in one hand, and said in a trembling voice, 'Don't shoot. Brother, I'm here to deliver food.' The wooden door creaked and was pushed open. A guard with a gun came out and looked at her from top to bottom. Seeing that she was wearing the clothes of a maid in the mansion, she looked cowardly and pale with fright, so he pointed the gun at her. With his mouth drooping, he frowned and asked, "Why are you delivering meals today? What about the one from yesterday?" Xuan said, "I don't know, but the chief allowed me to deliver meals to the prisoners in the backyard." The guard asked, "Is that really what Chief Pai said?" Xuan saw the muzzle of the gun drop to the ground. She was a little more courageous, raised her head and said, "I am the person that the chief called to serve Adjutant Xuan, and Adjutant Xuan told me that the chief agreed. Could it be that Adjutant Xuan lied to me as a girl? If you don't believe me, just hold me up, and when Adjutant Xuan comes back at night, you can ask him. If I lied, I would cut my tongue off." The guard heard this. Instead, he laughed and said, "Big sister, you are very fierce. Adjutant Xuan can speak well in front of the chief. Since he asked you to come, why should I hold you back? But don't be complacent, we are here. You can't be careless here. I still have to ask Big Brother Song to ask Adjutant Xuan at night. If you really lied to me, you won't be able to run away." Xuan asked, "Then I can bring food in now, right? He looks rough, but he does things seriously." He said, "What's the hurry? It's not an honored guest, and it's not unusual to eat a meal or two. You're a stranger. If you want to go in, find someone to prove it." Xuan saw that he was blocking the door like an iron tower, and he was holding a gun in his hand. She didn't dare to tell him apart, so she had to put the rattan basket on the corner of the door and turn to look for someone. At this time, Xuan Huaifeng went out, and she didn't know who to call. She was hesitating when she suddenly saw the housekeeper with both hands on his back, walking towards the west triumphantly. Xuan hurriedly called out, "Housekeeper! Housekeeper!" The housekeeper heard someone calling him, looked around, and saw Xuan beckoning to him. This little girl is very close to Xuan Huaifeng now. In the housekeeper's mind, she is naturally considered the top half of the celebrity. He walked up to her with a smile on his face and asked, "Xuan, what can I do for you? Say it first. If you are short of rouge gouache, Mrs. Yang, called Nuhong, can bring it to the street for you. I can't help such a woman matter." Xuan said, "I don't want rouge gouache, housekeeper, you can be a witness for me." The housekeeper asked, "What witnesses are you doing?" Xuan said, "Adjutant Xuan said I could deliver meals to the prisoners in the backyard, but the guard stopped me, saying that I had a fresh face and that he wanted someone to testify, and I was Adjutant Xuan's maid." The housekeeper said, "So that's how it is, I did this as a witness." After saying that, he followed Xuan to the black wooden door and confirmed Xuan's identity. When the guard saw that the housekeeper came to prove it, he didn't say anything anymore and asked Xuan, "What's in the basket?" Xuan nodded hurriedly. The guard took the rattan basket in his hand, lifted the blue cloth handkerchief on it, inspected it inside and out, laughed and scolded a swear word, "It's good that this bastard can survive, it's better to eat than this old man. Damn, you big girl, do you like that little white face? Get so many good dishes to feed him, it is better to feed the dog." Although Xuan is afraid of being scolded by a soldier, she also has a bloody temperament. Listen and seeing the soldier insulting her benefactor, quietly her face was not only darkened by 3 points, she glared at him and said, "This uncle soldier, don't speak so uncleanly. No matter how bad he is still Adjutant Xuan's younger brother. The left one is a bastard, there is a little white face, and he is not as good as a dog. When I look back when I see Adjutant Xuan, I will learn it from him and see what you are doing." The guard had already heard about Xuan Huaifeng's position in Chief Pai's mind. When Xuan said this, he felt a little guilty, and he said with a smile, "Big sister, you are doing delicate work by Adjutant Xuan's side, so why bother with a rough person like me? Are you doing your errand? Come in quickly, don't delay your meal delivery." He let go quickly. Xiao Fian carried a rattan basket with food into the yard, and found that there were several guards sitting under the eaves, and some had box guns pinned to their waists. It can be seen that the yard is guarded very close. Xuan Huaifeng was locked in a north-facing room. Several of the original windows were sealed with hardwood strips. The furniture inside was emptied, leaving only 4 walls. There was a heap of dry straw on the ground. Xuan Huaifeng was lying on it. He was imprisoned these days. He was very thin. His cheeks were sunken, and stubble appeared on his chin. When Xiao Fian saw him like this, she couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, and then she felt sad. She walked over and put the rattan basket on the ground, knelt down halfway, and asked in a low voice, "Adjutant Xuan, how are you? I've brought you food. You're suffering." The door lock, knowing someone was coming in, had been lying on the haystack, eyes closed and motionless. Hearing her voice, his expression changed slightly. He opened his eyes, turned his eyes slowly, stopped on Xiao Fian's face, recognized it carefully, then sighed and said, "It's you? How did they let you give it to me? Meal delivery? Didn't make it difficult for you?" Xiao Fian said, "They didn't make it difficult for me. Now I'm serving Adjutant Xuan. Oh no. I'm serving your brother's maid. Bring him tea and water, and he treats me too good. Yes, he didn't beat or scold me, he even bought me 2 books, I begged him to let me deliver food to you, and he agreed." As she was speaking, she suddenly gave a low exclamation, her eyes fixed on. Next, she asked intermittently, your hand?" Xuan Huaifeng snorted and raised his hand to show her the missing little finger. A few strands of gauze were randomly wrapped around the fracture. There were black blood spots on the gauze, and the outermost layer was stained with the roaring ashes that were everywhere in the prison, and it was unsightly dirty. Xuan Huaifeng said fiercely, "Is he good to you?" "That's good. He is also good to me, a father, a brother who grew up with him. He let the surnamed Pai cut off my finger and throw me away here, like a wild dog, waiting to die." Although he didn't say a word to Xiao Fian's face was red. For a moment, she was dumbfounded, not daring to say anything. With a look of guilt, Xiao Fian took out the food from the rattan basket. Because there was no table, she could only put the dishes on the dirty floor. She put a bowl of rice in a small white bowl, scooped 2 spoons of hot soup into it, and handed it to Xuan Huaifeng with her head lowered, worried that Xuan Huaifeng would be angry with her and ignore her. Unexpectedly, Xuan Huaifeng took it unceremoniously, without using chopsticks, he devoured it with a spoon. He has also been eating fine clothes and jade since he was a child. After Zhan Luzhao, although he occasionally received a fist and whip from the commander, he never ate any worse things. The days he was imprisoned made him starving like crazy. The food is all the food of the servants, and in his eyes, it is similar to the water. Only what Xiao Fian gave this time can be eaten a little. He's missing a little finger, but he can still do things like scooping vegetables with a spoon very quickly. After all, he was a young man in his 20s, and it was the time when he could eat it. After a while, 2 plates of meat and vegetables and a pot of white rice were all swept up in the stomach, and even the soup was sucked clean. When he is full, he will feel a little more energetic. His eyes were brighter than before. He put the bowl and spoon on the ground, and asked in a low voice, "Do you have any news from Commander Zhan?" Xiao Fian shook her head. Xuan Huaifeng sipped a little bit of anxiety on his face, and said, "Why not? I'm stuck here, and it's not that he doesn't know." Xiao Fian lowered her head and slowly picked up the dishes, looked around carefully, and said with a smile, "Like you, are locked in the mansion, how can I know what happened to Brother Zhan? He must be in a hurry. The only thing that wants to save you is. I think the guards here are very strict, and several people outside have guns. If I can find a chance to go out, I will definitely help you find out." Xuan Huaifeng said. If you can go out, don't go back to our mansion. The sly old man surnamed Pai may not really believe in you. Be careful, he sends someone to follow you. You go here. He whispered an address. Xuan Huaifeng said, this shoe shop is our dark spot. You pretend to go buy shoes and let the guy in the shop help you deliver a letter to the army commander. You have to be smart about this. The surnamed Pai is cruel, let him found out. I'm afraid he may not cut your fingers, he simply slapped your face. Did you remember the address just now, and recite it to me? Xiao Fian has never personally experienced these conspiracies. She was a little scared in her heart, but in a situation like Xuan Huaifeng, she couldn't help but nod her head in panic, and gently memorized the address just now. Xuan Huaifeng squinted at her and remembered it, closed his eyes a little, thought for a while, and said, tell him, we have let Bai Xuelan know about several strongholds. I suspect that there are spies among my own people. This is very important, you must communicate it. He opened his eyes and stared at Xiao Fian. The eyes are quite intimidating. Xiao Fian's heart trembled slightly when he stared at her. She was putting the dishes in the rattan basket with both hands. The door was suddenly knocked twice with force. Someone said outside, the one who delivers the meal, hurry up and pack up after eating. Don't murmuring inside. If something goes wrong, let's eat and hang together. I'm cleaning up, I'll come out here. Her hands turned over in the rattan basket, making a few noises, pretending to be cleaning up the dishes. Xuan Huaifeng looked at her coldly, and suddenly asked, does he lie in the same bed with that man every night? Xiao Fian was stunned when he asked this, then nodded with a little blush. Xuan Huaifeng asked, is he rambunctious in bed? How about kung fu? Xiao Fian was embarrassed and said in a low voice, how could I know this? Xuan Huaifeng snorted again, contemptuously said, I can guess it without saying it. It looks noble on the outside, but inside it's just something for a man to play with. If his legs are tight enough, how can he let the surnamed Pai get into bed? Zhang Luzhao is blinded. You know that you like the rotten dustpan that is just too good for you. Don't be fooled by his handsome face, or you will know how to write the word regret when you die. Before Xiao Fian could speak, the people outside started banging on the door again and asked, what are you doing? You haven't come out yet? Xiao Fian replied, hey. It's coming. She returned to Xuan Huaifeng and squinted, standing up and holding the rattan basket, stepped out of the door, went down the corridor, and said to the tall guard who was slamming the door, this big brother, I didn't say you are really impatient. As if you want to punch a hole in the door, that loud voice, I almost smashed a porcelain plate. If I break something, the housekeeper will deduct money from my monthly salary. These guards work around the mansion all day, and it is rare to see such a pretty girl. Doll Xiao Fian's resentment, looking at the beautiful face and big eyes, was really helpful, and said with a smile, other people deliver meals, and it doesn't take as much time as you. Xiao Fian said, always watch him finish eating, it's done. Since Chief Pai didn't kill him, he was kept here, and he wouldn't want him to starve to death. If he didn't eat, he would have 3 long and 2 shorts, and I'm afraid you, guards would have to eat and hang. The guard took her rattan basket to check. Sure enough, the soup, vegetables and rice were eaten cleanly. He was happy to compliment her and said, as expected, you know how to do things. No wonder Adjutant Xuan appreciates you, and you will bring the meal tomorrow? Xiao Fian said, let me deliver it. You will stop me tomorrow and want me to find a witness? The guard smiled and said, my name is Zhang Desheng. Tomorrow you will bring food. Call me Big Brother Zhang, and I will let you in. Xiao Fian said a few words to him, and when she saw that his expression softened, she was no longer afraid, wrinkled her cute little nose at him, and said, aren't you a good person, are you taking advantage of others? Sticking out her tongue, she walked out of the yard with a rattan basket.